Hello, welcome to the podcast, Human Rights in America, a Revolutionary Mindset. I am your host, Sue Young. This podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. Episodes are published every 2 weeks. Check back with me and listen to the other podcasts over and over. Episode 3. And thank you for you, because once you hear this message, you can't unknow it. So I thank you for listening. Last episode, we talked about Articles 1 through 15. Today, I'm going to start with a quote by Alice Walker. The most common way that people give up power is by thinking that they don't have any. I think America should be a leader on human rights. The world is watching. We have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. We need a revolution. We don't need to wait for leaders to get on board. We have to start knowing who we are and what we want before we can tell anyone else what we want or what direction to go. Leaders are just representatives of people. I wonder if the people know what they want when it comes to human rights. So last episode, I really focused on the language of Article 1, which says all human beings are free and equal. I believe that language is unequivocal, not subject to misinterpretation in 5 years, in 50 years, or even 100 years from now, as opposed to the current language of our Constitution, which says all men are created equal. My second why as to why I'm doing the podcast is because I was thinking about it. I think our cell phone technology has outpaced the human development over the last decade or two. I want us to be the change that we want to see in America. Today, we're going to go over Articles 16 through 30. While I read these articles to you, focus on the question, what if? I learned that question during a summer retreat with Mike Rayborn. Thank you, Mike. I really love that question because it opens up the possibility and eliminates a lot of blockades in our mind and may allow us to dream and to think bigger. So what if we had embraced and adopted and legislated and educated people on these articles found in UN Declaration of 1948 in 1948? What kind of country could we have? We can't change the past, I know, but what if? What can we do now to make those words true, that all human beings are free and equal? America does a lot of things right. But as Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. I think we can do better. So let's read the articles. Article 16. As soon as a person is legally entitled, he or she has the right to marry and have a family. Neither the color of your skin, nor the country you've come from, nor your religion should be impediments to doing this. Men and women should have the same right when they are married and also when they are separated. Nobody should force a person to marry. Your government should protect your family and its members. Article 17. You have the right to own things, and nobody has the right to take these things from you without a good reason. I laugh every time I see that because what's the good reason for taking something that belongs to you? Article 18. You have the right to profess your religion freely, change it, and practice it on your own and with other people. Article 19. You have the right to say what you like, and nobody should forbid you from doing so. You should be able to share your ideals also with people from any other country. Article 20 says you have the right to organize peaceful meetings or take part in meetings in a peaceful way. It is wrong to force someone to belong to a group. Article 21. You have the right to take part in your country's political affairs, either by belonging to the government or by choosing politicians who have the same ideals as you. Government should be voted for regularly, and voting should be a secret. You should get a vote, and all votes should be equal. You also have the same right to join the public service as anyone else. I am not a constitutional law lawyer, nor am I a professor of constitutional law, but I do know how to read, and I know how to look for a possible solution. But we're going to get into the Constitution later. It's the one area of the Constitution that's pretty clear. It actually says that voting is a right of the citizens, and nothing should impair that right. Not the federal government or the state governments. Yet we have no federal laws protecting the right to vote. Thus, each state can and does make up their own rules and even have laws that can take away the right to vote forever. You can lose the right to vote forever in this country. As one of the largest democracies on the planet, I believe that voting should be a national holiday. We should encourage people to vote. Article 22. The society in which you live should help you develop and make most of all the advantages of culture, work, social welfare, options that are offered to you and to all men and women in your country. Article 23. You have the right to work, to be free to choose your work, and to get paid a salary that allows you to live and support your family. If a man and woman do the same work, they should have the same pay. All who work have the right to join together to defend their interest. In 2024 in America, women make up 51% and more of the population and have since 2013. Yet today, we don't have an Equal Rights Amendment, and most importantly, we do not pay women the same amount as men. In the earlier episodes, I told you that in 1948, white men made 95% more than women, and specifically white women. So if you were a woman of any other ethnicity, the number is higher. Today, we call that difference the wage gap, and we watch it like it's the sunset or the ocean. What if in 1948 we embraced this language and paid women equal for equal work? Where would we be today? And why don't we pay women the same as we pay men if we do the same job? Currently, there are laws which mandate that companies show their current pay scales. They're called transparency laws. Transparency laws don't lessen the pay gap. They simply require employers to show people what they are paying everyone in their corporations. Only 8 states have adopted the transparency law. but the United States has not adopted any equal pay for equal work laws. I'm going to tell you a story. I was in Colorado earlier this year dog sitting, and my sister-in-law told me this story. She's a hairstylist, and she told me that one client who had a daughter who just got a summer job as a lifeguard. She had to take a swimming test and the whole 9 yards. She got the job. She's so happy and thrilled. She has another client who has a son. Her son just got the same job as a lifeguard. He too was excited about it. They had to do a swimming test and everything just like the girls did. The girl found out that the boys are being paid more than her. Well, because the girl is smart, she went back to the boss and told him that unless she gets equal pay, she won't take the job. The job is a lifeguard. She wants to be given the same amount as the boys because they're going to be doing the same job for the summer. Is this 2024? And she's a teenager. I didn't realize that the inequality starts so young. What message are we sending boys? Why are employers allowed to do that in America? I don't know. I just think it's an incredible story. Article 24. Each workday should not be too long, since everyone has the right to rest and should be able to take regular paid holidays. Article 25. You have the right to have whatever you need for you and your family so that you do not fall ill, do not go hungry, so that you have clothes and a house, and are helped if you are out of work. If you are ill, if you are old, if your wife or husband is dead, or if you do not earn a living for any other reason, you cannot help. This is 1948, so just think about it. And both the mother who is going to have a baby and her baby should get special help. All children should have special rights, whether or not the mother is married. In February of 2005, Nelson Mandela gave a speech at Trafalgar Square in London. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was on poverty. And the speech was 9 minutes long. You can listen to it on YouTube. It's pretty fantastic. But in part, he says this: like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made. It can be overcome and eradicated by the effort of humans. It is not a charity to overcome poverty. It is a fundamental human right. And where poverty exists, there is no freedom. Homelessness in America. What do you think about when you see homelessness? What is it that you think about when you see all of those camps, like in Portland or LA or Denver even, has a lot of camps? You know, I lived in New York and for years. I remember that I used to go out on Saturday mornings running errands, but I always carried dollar bills in my pocket because I knew inevitably I was going to run into hungry people or homeless people. And I would just give them money. Or I would give my money to the subway performers because they were good. But I saw people sleeping in the subway stations, on sidewalks, using phone booths as dressing rooms. What if we eradicated homelessness in America? It sounds kind of impossible, doesn't it? But we could do it. I believe that we could. It would take a lot of work. But there's always been life going on when people were perhaps having families and being busy. But somehow someone took the time to develop electricity. They drafted the Constitution. They created a country. And they invented the play Hamilton, which I love. We can do it. I believe that it takes work. It's not going to happen overnight. But we have a few examples to follow. I want to highlight the country of Scotland. In 2019, they came out with their Shelter Scotland campaign and announced that housing is a human right. They're still kind of working through homelessness. Their numbers have gone up, but they're working on it. Finland is another country. They've been fighting homelessness since 1987. In 1987, they had 18,000 homeless people. And at the end of 2022, they have approximately 3,686 people, but only 492 people sleeping outdoors. The fact that they have those stats, it's staggering because we don't. At least I don't think we do. But we have a U.S. example. It seems Houston is doing a lot to help homelessness. Before 2012, Houston was in the top 10 cities with the highest number of homelessness. Since then, they have slashed homelessness by 60%. How did they do it? Well, they established coalitions with 100 nonprofits that addressed homelessness, and they all communicate. Their first goal was to focus more on housing the homeless and then giving them the services they need, like clothing or food, or addressing their mental health issues. True, in Houston, they have fewer regulations for building, so they can build apartments for homeless people really kind of cheap, $200,000 a person. When they tried it in LA, the numbers were as high as $800 and something thousand. So that's quite significant depending on where you live. Houston's model could be replicated throughout the United States. If we eradicated homelessness and poverty, how much more time would we have to focus on other things? Article 26. You have the right to go to school, and everyone should go to school. Primary schooling should be free, and you should be able to learn a profession or continue your studies so far as you wish. At school, you should be able to develop all of your talents, and you should be able to be taught and to get it on with others, whatever their race or religion. Article 27. You have the right to share in your community arts and sciences, and in any good that they do. Your work as an artist or as a writer or as a scientist should be protected, and you should be able to benefit from them. Think about all of the AI arguments today regarding individuals' likeness and use of that likeness. Article 28. To make sure that your right will be respected, there must be an order that can protect them. This order should be local and worldwide. Article 29. You have a duty to the community within which you live. You should be able to fully develop into a person, and the law should guarantee human rights and to ensure that everyone respects each other and should be respected. And lastly, Article 30. No society and no human being in any part of the world should act in such a way as to destroy the rights you've just read about, or in this case, you just listened to. And just to reiterate some of the terms in this declaration, human rights, the concept, acknowledges that every single human being is entitled to enjoy his or her human rights without any distinction as to race, color, sex, language, religion, political or opinion or other opinion, national, social origin, property, birth, or any other status. Treaties and other sources of law generally serve to protect formally the rights or individuals and groups against actions or abandonment of actions by government which interfere with the enjoyment of their human rights. Human rights are universal, meaning that they are applied equally and without discrimination to all people. Human rights are inalienable in that no one can have their human rights taken away. Human rights are indivisible, interrelated, and interdependent for the reason that it is insufficient to respect some human rights and not others. And lastly, as a reminder, the law does not establish human rights. Human rights, rather, are inherent entitlements which come to every person as a consequence of being human. That's it. Articles 1 through 30 of the United Nations Declaration of 1948. Those are rights that I had never heard of in school, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. So the question I leave you with is, what if? We still have to go through the Convention of the Rights of a Child, as well as get through parts of the Constitution, which I believe gives us an open door to human rights in America. And then we can get to guests and opinions and some topics that came across my desk. Until next time, be revolutionary, be human.